The Discipleship Primer is here to build conviction on the theology of discipleship. See, many times when teaching, individuals will say, Eric, I agree with the mandate of discipleship. I even agree with the metric. But for whatever reason, we're still not making disciples. And we're convinced it's because people aren't building conviction. And so what our heart is for the site, specifically this page, is that we would understand more the theology of discipleship, we would digest it, and we will actually obey Jesus' mandate to make disciples. In Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20, Jesus says, all authority under heaven and in earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them everything that I've commanded you. And lo, I will be with you always, even until the end of the age. So what Jesus does, he gives us one command, make disciples, and he gives us three participles, going, baptizing, and teaching. And those three participles help us understand and are clearly what he's saying will be used in order to accomplish making disciples. First, going. He is not hoping that we go, but Jesus is assuming that if we are his people, that we are going. And when he says baptizing, he's telling us he wants us to see individuals become Christians, to lead people to Christ. And then finally, he tells us to teach them everything that I've commanded you. See, Jesus doesn't just say this from a theological framework, but he models this in his life. Jesus lived with his disciples for 3 years, built relationships with them, trained them in what does it mean to love God and to walk with Christ, and then he sent them out to proclaim the good news to the cultural context that they were in. But it doesn't just stop with Jesus. We see Paul also modeling this. The Apostle Paul with his friend Timothy. He raises him up, trains him in his faith, and then sends Timothy out to do the same. And we see this fulfilled in 2 Timothy 2, verse 2, where he says, what I've entrusted to you, I'm asking you to entrust to other men who will also be faithful to entrust it to other men also. So when we look at the Great Commission, we look at Jesus' life and ministry, we see the ministry of Paul, it seems that there is a clear mandate that he's given us. And that is for you and I to be pouring our lives into other people and to be training them in word, relationship, and ministry. This is what it means to fulfill the mandate that he's called us to in Matthew 28. This is what it means to make disciples. Now let's go ahead and unpack those components. First, when we look at the word, Jesus wants us to not only teach people how to study the Bible, but to teach people how to train others on how to study the Bible. And most importantly, he wants us to obey what the scriptures are saying. When we look at the relationship, Jesus didn't just treat these guys like a project, but he loved them. He cared for them, and he wants us to care and love our disciples. He wants us to model vulnerability, accountability. He wants us to be intentional with the men and women that we're pouring into. And he wants us to be committed to loving on them so that they will feel cared for and they would know that we won't forsake them for the mission that we want to accomplish. And we're also training and doing ministry together. Ministry is shown through service and evangelism. See, Jesus modeled having compassion, loving those around, loving the marginalized, those who are broken. So we serve people around us, in our communities, wherever we are. But also, we not just serve, we also need to share our faith. We need to proclaim the gospel. We need to train individuals on what it means to discuss the gospel in our cultural context and be engaging the people around us with the reality of the good news of Christ. And so when we have the word, relationship, and ministry, we have fulfilled the mandate that he's called us to in Matthew 28, 18 through 20. See, it's not enough just to know these truths. If you're convicted of this right now, we're asking you to move upon it. We're asking you to go forward and make disciples. I mean, this is what we're created to do, right? You think of John 20. Jesus says, just as I have been sent, I'm sending you. We've been born again, and then we've been commissioned by Christ because of the good news to be his missionaries, to retell his story. So we're asking, if you're a church leader, if you are a minister, if you are a layperson, but you want to make disciples, we hope that this site will equip you and help you toward that end. Thanks so much.